Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here back with part 3 finally of list of famous excuse me list of famous dyslexics. It's I've been procrastinating on this for quite a while to make to make part 3 because I was thinking I've been quite nervous about like not making trying not to make mistakes and things like that. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it and appreciate the effort I put into making this one. But yeah, or to thinking of it. So yeah, I've tried to do a bit of research, like looking through Wikipedia, Wikipedia, but also like Google generally. Obviously, a lot of these can be found on Wikipedia or Google generally. I'll post in the comment section the links. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. So here goes. So please check out parts 1 and 2 if you haven't already done so, and I hope you enjoy them. And as ever, I'd love to hear what you think, and I hope I won't waffle too much or be too cringeworthy. So yeah, please let me know, as I say, what you think, and any ways I can improve any constructive criticism or any hopefully positive comments as well. And I hope I won't trip over my words too much. But yeah, anyway, cracking on with the video. Number 21. There are a lot of people who are speculated to be dyslexic, including historical figures. Some have come out, some came out and said they were dyslexic before. Unfortunately, they passed away, like people like Stephen J. Cannell, if I pronounced it right. It reminds me of Canal, but I think it's pronounced Canal. But basically, he was the founder of, or he was the guy who came up with, founder of or screenwriter for or whatever, the A-Team. So if you enjoyed the A-Team, you have a dyslexic guy to thank for that. And so there's lots of people historically, like Walt Disney, even Henry Ford, and people like that, who are often said to be dyslexic, even Albert Einstein and people like that. But it's hard to prove whether contemporary or whatever the word is, people from history are dyslexic or not. So I'm trying to stick to more people who say they're dyslexic in their own words. Like, or I'm not sure if I've used the wrong word there, contemporary. Maybe contemporary means. But basically, let's say historical. Let's stick to the words I know. But yeah, historical characters, it's hard to prove or disprove that they're dyslexic, or for them to come out and say that actually they're not dyslexic, and that was just a myth or a rumor. Whereas obviously current people can do that, and or they can say, yeah, I am dyslexic or whatever to inspire people. But yeah, I think people like myself always try and find like the most accurate list possible, and to be truthful. Like but basically there's a lot of people historically who are said to be dyslexic. Stephen J. Cannell actually talked about being dyslexic, whereas people like Henry Ford and Walt Disney and people like that, Albert Einstein and so on and so forth, couldn't really. Back then, it wasn't really known about dyslexia, I don't think. So probably few to no people knew about dyslexia back then. So it's hard to say whether dyslexic. I suppose people look at their spelling and what they achieved and said, oh, they're quite creative people. Obviously, have their weaknesses in other areas. I often think if someone didn't do well at school and they do well in later life, it's probably because they're dyslexic. Because it's probably not that they're lazy, that they're stupid, lazy, dumb, thick, or whatever. Although perhaps no one is any of those things, or certainly not that of those things. Maybe if we're encouraged, we can all perhaps achieve whether we're dyslexic or not. Anyway, moving on. Number 22. There was such a long list I couldn't really decide, but there's lots of famous singers like Lee Ryan from the band Blue. To be honest, I wasn't really into their music. I think some of it was quite good, to be fair, but yeah, I think even like some members of possibly Take That. I think Robbie Williams, is said to be dyslexic, as well as the comedian and actor Robin Williams, the late comedian and actor. But I mean, again, I'm not sure if this is true or not, or whether Robin Williams said he was dyslexic or not, and whether Robbie Williams says he's dyslexic. But I would be a bit embarrassed to admit to knowing any like Take That songs. I probably actually know some of their songs and like recognize it, but probably never really got into their music. I'd be ashamed to admit if I did. And also Spice Girls. I think Posh Spice, as she used to be called, Victoria Beckham. She says all her family is dyslexic, but I'm not sure if that's. I think she said she's self-diagnosed dyslexic, so I'm not sure if that's true. But there are many famous dyslexic singers, many who say they're dyslexic. As far as I'm aware, like people like also who was in the Spice Girls, Melanie Brown, who went by the name Mel C, or Scary Spice, which was quite a controversial thing at the time. But yeah, so people like that. Number 23, John Chambers, and his story is quite interesting. What he said was as a dyslexic entrepreneur. He was, as a CEO of Cisco Systems. I must admit, I don't know much about Cisco Systems, but I only know about it because the CEO was a dyslexic guy. I think he moved on from there, but he's no longer the CEO of Cisco Systems. But he said that he didn't want to talk about being dyslexic because he saw that he saw it as a weakness, or he thought people, or he thought other people would see it as a weakness. So he didn't want to. He didn't want people to know, and I think a few people don't want people to know, and just in case, or how their reactions might be. And so he believes that 25%, obviously that's a culture, of all CEOs might be dyslexic in America and possibly around the world, but especially in America, where they're given opportunities and their creativity can flourish, I suppose. But yeah, he says a lot of them don't want people to know they're dyslexic, so they don't come out and say they're dyslexic, which would inspire a lot of people. As Matt Hancock, the MP, who's also dyslexic, said, if more people come out, it actually inspires more people, and he called it coming out. But yeah, obviously that normally means something else. But yeah, in John Chambers' case, he accidentally revealed that he's dyslexic because it was at his, he went to do a talk at his daughter's school, and this girl who wanted to speak, she couldn't speak very well, so she was like saying she was in tears and saying she's embarrassed or whatever. And then he said he's dyslexic, but he didn't realize the camera was still on him. So, I mean, the microphone was still on him. So he accidentally revealed it to a whole group of people. And then he decided, as a lot of people came out and said that they came up to him and said, oh, you inspired us. If someone like you can achieve so much with dyslexia, then it shows what can be done. So he then said he would share his story with more people. And I think it'd be great to hear more of him talking about being dyslexic with more people, and then hopefully it will inspire more people, which is what this is all about. And also I read on Wikipedia that people who made Lad Baby, apparently they're both dyslexic, the couple who made Lad Baby, which I think they're quite funny as well, and they're quite cool. So I didn't know they were dyslexic, but yeah, and they've done a lot for charity as well. And I've heard of a lot of people who have done fundraising. I think we become quite empathetic. I'm not sure if we're genetically more empathetic, like naturally, basically, or if it's because of our experience. I'd like to think it's genetic, like that we have a gene that makes us more empathetic, but perhaps if you do struggle, you can relate to other people who struggle more as well. Again, as I often mention, because of my patterns, I decided to mention that as point number 23, because number 23 is a number for some reason I think of as like fundraising, charitable work, sympathy, empathy, and trying to help people and things like that. So that's why I included the fundraising thing. But yeah, moving on, number 24, Benjamin Zephaniah, the British poet. His family's of Caribbean descent, and I suppose originally from African descent, or some people say we're all African. I don't know if that's true or not, or what evidence there is. But yeah, but basically, yeah, he's quite an outspoken left-wing person, I suppose you could say. He's quite political, but I agree with probably most of what he says, probably not all of what he says, but quite a lot of what he says. And he's a Republican like me. He supports republicanism and things like that, so I find him pretty cool. And for some reason, I love the way he talks. I don't know why, although again, I probably don't agree with everything he says. But yeah, I think he's pretty cool. And he was saying he can barely do the alphabet, but he sells books around the world, and like sometimes his publicist tells him they sell books in places he doesn't even know, and things like that, and which is a bit like Charles Schwab, the financier who apparently pretty much founded the discount brokerage in America or something like that, and so he helps ordinary people to invest rather than just rich people. And he said he could barely do his alphabet as well, and he's a billionaire, so that shows what can be done. I suppose he probably is very good at delegating and knowing what he's good at and things like that, as well as what he's probably not so good at, like knowing his limitations. And number 25, a bit of a dilemma for me because I'm a Republican, as I say, but there are quite a few royals, like Princess Beatrice in the UK. There's, I think, most of the ones in Sweden, probably, and Norway as well. I think I know at least one or two in Norway do have dyslexia, so it's a bit of a dilemma for me, but maybe we can put our differences aside. Number 26, I'd love to hear in the future about more famous dyslexics or successful dyslexics in developing countries, especially in parts of Africa and Asia, as well as Ireland and places like that. And again, what I often mention in the past, I call them the six. So I'd love to hear more famous dyslexic people from those sorts of places. Number 27. But yeah, as I say, on Wikipedia, the Dyslexic Advantage and Made by Dyslexia, they talk to a lot of people who are dyslexic who have done well in their chosen field. I think his name is Nick Jones, who is the CEO, the founder and CEO, sorry, of Soho House. Again, I don't know much about them, but I only heard about them because the founder was talking to Made by Dyslexia. But there are many people on Made by Dyslexia and the Dyslexic Advantage that you can hear about. Number 28, Mark Ruffalo, who played the Hulk and many other characters. Number 29, Brian Glaser, who is a prominent film director. I'd be surprised if there weren't so many film directors with dyslexia, and I think it'd be great to hear from all of them. I think people say Quentin Tarantino is dyslexic. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but yeah, Brian Glaser, sorry, has produced many great films. I don't really watch many films myself, I must admit, but I imagine many dyslexics make great films because of our imagination and things like that. Number 30, again, I'd love to hear from your any famous dyslexics you can list. I hope I counted that right again. I always fear that I miscounted the list. But yeah, I mean, there's so many, but it's hard to choose which ones to cover. But I'll post a link in about from Wikipedia about a list of people diagnosed with dyslexia and some other links perhaps as well. And maybe I'll make a part 4 if I can think of any more. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video and it wasn't too cringeworthy. And as ever, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm out. Peace and up.